All right, it is day one of the Major League Baseball winter meetings here in Las Vegas, the beautiful Mandalay Bay. We are here at the Sportsbook along with Chris Dimino, Kevin McAlpin in a beautiful studio here, Chris, and it's day one. We've been waiting for these winter meetings. We thought there's a lot of names out there on the board. Could we see some movement here in the next few days?
Yeah, quick understanding, too, of what goes on here. Every manager is going to get about a half hour to speak. General managers will meet with their local contingency of media people at night. And then I think what used to happen is, in a place like Las Vegas, GMs used to sit at bars really late at night talking about things. It's funny, somebody told me, I had a conversation just yesterday, if you want to see a GM to find out what it is they might be doing, go down to the hotel gym. These guys are all in a different place now. This isn't 40 years ago. They said there might be more conversations in person down at the workout facility than there will be, because most of these guys actually text more than they even pick up a phone or meet with a guy in person.
You've been coming to these meetings for a long time. How do you feel like they've changed over the years? Because like you said, technology, this thing, you don't have to meet face-to-face anymore. There's so much more ways to get in touch.
Right. I think one of the big things is it used to just be, okay, this is the amount of money I have to spend. Then at the winter meetings, I try to figure out if I can actually make a puzzle fit. I think now what it's more about, it's controllable years, contracts, talent but paperwork. I think that sort of bled into what happens in the winter meetings. Controllable years became a real thing, sort of like launch angle a few years ago, where everybody says, okay, I just need to know what that means. That means I get more years before I have to deal with free agency, in some cases even arbitration. I think that's what's changed. I think GMs now have a contingency of people who say, this makes financial sense for us, it makes baseball sense for us. How do we make sure they meet? I think back in the old days, I think ego used to get in the way a lot more than it does now.
We already know the Braves have made a couple of moves, bringing in Josh Donaldson and Brian McCann coming back home. Do you anticipate anything over the next couple of days here, or do you think it might be something that they lay some groundwork and then continue conversations after they leave Vegas?
I don't know if they'll be first, but I do think once a domino, and I don't mean the Machado or Harper domino, they're in a different world. I think some of the bullpen numbers, I think the outfielders who might really only have a year or two instead of 3- and 4-year deals, I think once those chips fall or start to fall, then the Braves could get in. My point is, if that happens today, you could see something happen by Thursday before everybody packs up and gets out of here.
It should be interesting. Obviously, the Braves still have a couple of needs, corner outfield. They've talked about a frontline starter, maybe a closer as well. Dallas Keuchel's name has started popping up once again. The folks I've talked to, I haven't heard as much chatter on the Dallas Keuchel front as maybe some other folks have, but at this point in the offseason, this could be some agent speak too,
So here's what happens. You try to figure out, here's his value to us, a per-year price, and is it 1 year, 2 years, 3 years? Is it a get-back deal for a 30-year-old pitcher like Keuchel, or has he earned the right to go get 3 years because of some of what he's done? I mentioned this morning on the radio, do you know how hard it is to win 100 games in Major League Baseball?
It's pretty hard.
He's got 76 wins. He's got a 20-5 season. He's a tick over 30. He's got 76 wins. I don't know if the Braves want to set the bar of the market, but maybe there's a way to actually get in a little bit below if he's looking to jump. I just don't know what his individual situation is in terms of what he thinks he's worth.
Corner outfield, obviously a major area of need. We've heard some names like Puig, maybe Jock Peterson could be another name that could be of interest to the Braves.
Well, here's what I think. Puig at $11 million, I'd take him in a heartbeat.
Absolutely.
Jock Peterson's got those controllable years we just talked about, and he comes from the same place where Alex Anthopoulos came from. And I can tell you what Anthopoulos said when he got here. Their scouts looked very hard and long at all of the Braves pitching prospects. Why would it be easier to do a deal with them? Not because he left there, but because they probably believe they understand what the value of the pitching staff is, not 25-man rosters in the minor leagues. If they've got a base for that, I think a deal with a team like that is just easier done, because they've admitted they've kept an eye on what it is you have in the minors.
Yeah, some folks out there on Twitter and fans we see around the ballpark asking, hey, what about Mitch Haniger? What about some other names? Brantley is on the market. Seems like Brantley is going to be trying to get at least a 3- or 4-year deal, probably in the $60 to $80 million range. Too steep for the Braves, do you think, at this point?
I think at this point.
Yeah.
I listen, at the end of the day, we found out last year's spring training was littered with, I'd like a job, please.
Yeah.
So I don't know if you want to jump now. At the end of the day, there is a benefit to getting in without the market being pushed up. I don't think people think the market's going to necessarily be pushed up, so getting in first might not work. That's why, if you're asking me again, do I think something can happen here, or at least a base or something? I think a couple of chips. A bullpen arm will have to sign. Yeah. An outfielder will have to sign. A starting pitcher will either be traded for or signed. Then I think you try to figure out what does that mean for us in our pile of cash.
Day one here in Vegas. I got in last night. You got in yesterday morning. My first time.
You've never been.
I've never been to Las Vegas. I did 7.5 miles on the Strip last night down to the Bellagio, saw the fountains, saw Paris. I want to get to Old Vegas, and I think you spent some time in Old Vegas over the years.
Yeah, listen, there's a place called Binion's where they still wear bolo ties, and there's a chance the guy dealing you blackjack is going to be 82 years old. There's something charming about that. The thing that's really interesting is you're at the point now in your life with a wife and a baby, and I'm just going to tell you, I spoke about it on the radio this morning, you've got to realize that you're not 20.
Yeah.
Part of it is I'd like to be 20, and who doesn't? I'm in Las Vegas. But let me tell you, if somebody comes over and says, sir, would you like to sign for more money?
Yeah.
That's called a marker. You do still owe that money.
Right, right. Yeah,
so it's not free money.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, I'm taking a look at the board here in the sports book. We've got parks getting ready to run. The horses are getting ready to tee it. It's only 9 o'clock in the morning. We got horse racing and we got college hoops coming up tonight.
There is a chance I'm going to lay a bet at a place called Freehold, New Jersey.
Ah, the
Freehold,
harness, the trotters.
Half-mile trotter track in New Jersey. You can bet that. You can get anything you want here.
Yeah, you can. I bet, and matter of fact, I bet virtual horse racing last night. Did you see this machine over here? They actually have little toy horses.
Don't do that.
I won $20. I also lost $20 at the airport when we got here through 20 in a slot machine, and as you saw on the video, that was gone.
In one day, you bet virtual horse racing and you put money in a slot machine.
At the airport, no less. Vegas. Unsupervised, no wife, no kid, but you're right. I'm not in my 20s anymore. You don't bounce back as quick either.
Vegas has got a lot to offer for a man such as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
Make sure it includes dice and cards.
Okay.
These slot machines pulling on an arm, fake horses that are in a machine. I know it's how they make a living. I promise you, you ain't lived until you've been at a craps table where somebody is screaming for an 8.
Yeah.
You might not have any idea why they're screaming for an 8, but they're screaming for an 8. That's a little bit different than sitting at the slot.
We'll have you covered day and night here from the Vegas Winter Meetings. Chris Dimino, Ben Ingram will be here as well. Kevin McAlpin, 680 The Fan on Facebook, on Twitter, on Instagram, on the air. We'll have you covered on the latest rumors, news, and how Dimino does here at the Sportsbook at Freehold in just a little while.
And we're going to hit the streets to make sure that Kevin realizes walking 7.5 miles was very nice, but there's some things inside some of these buildings you might want to see.
Yeah, we'll check that out. We'll have continuing coverage right here. Stay with us for the next couple of days here from the Major League Baseball Winter Meetings at Mandalay Bay in Las Vegas.